welcome to Fondy Famous. I'm your host, Kelly Northley. Today's feature is sponsored by Steve Ward's Builders, and today I'm here with Kaitlyn Kenealy of Kenealy Counseling, and she is a psychotherapist and author. Yes, and you have a book that's come out recently, maybe working on another one.
Yes, the second one is in production.
Okay.
So it's super exciting.
It is. So tell us a little bit about what you guys do.
Sure. So my day job, I like to say, is being a psychotherapist, right? So I have Kenealy Counseling. I work with ages 4 and up. I work with all the fun stuff, I would say. So trauma, PTSD, anxiety, depression, you kind of name it. So that's kind of the day job. And then I'm also an author. So my first book is called Healing is Messy AF. Hopefully everybody knows what that stands for.
We do.
I have to say, when I wrote the book, I feel like I thought of like how you're going to respond and do those things, but the number one thing I did not think about was AF and
People didn't know what that meant.
And how many times I've had to explain that to other people. Yes.
I can imagine. But it's got to be kind of a fun conversation, right? Like for us, we would understand.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's led to greater conversations about it. But the first book is basically a workbook, and it is about investing in yourself. So it's my clinical experience, personal experience, intertwined with patient experience, and it gives you tangible and practical things that you could do on your own. Okay. So it could sit on a coffee table. That was the objective of it, is to have people kind of come together around the book. And if we can't get them in the office, can we give them something, right, that makes psychotherapy or seeking services or just the discussion of mental health, how do I want to say this, tangible and practical. So that was the objective. And the cool piece, and I'll have to say it happened again this year already, because it feels like it's been a year. And
I know. I'm like, we're in February, aren't we? No.
Right. So I actually have a patient, and they were like, my friend has your book, and we kind of started like a little workbook club. And so that was like, and so other people have said that as well. And so that was the objective, right? Yeah. And so then I look at this first book as kind of like the appetizer. And so I was like, I'm healed. On the second one, let's do the trauma. And so the second book is even more personal. It's basically kind of a coming of age story, my coming of age story through all of my trauma. So yeah.
That one be a workbook too, or that's going to be a regular book?
A regular book.
Okay. Yeah. It'll be fun to see that and see how you tell that story.
Yes. So later this year. So it's in production. So yeah.
All right. We'll be excited when you roll that out. So tell us a little bit about how you got into counseling and what that's looked like here in town.
Sure. So my undergrad is in history with a minor in women's studies. My first master's degree, because I'm obnoxious, is in gender and women's studies. And then my second master's degree is in community and mental health counseling. When I went to college, I wanted to be an actress.
Okay. Yeah. A little bit of turn of events, huh?
And then I was like, then I'll be a teacher, right? And everything just kind of led to the next. But really, it was after my first master's degree, I was an academic advisor. And I just felt everything I was doing was getting to the root problem. And so it felt like counseling, right? So as a student, you go to your advisor, and is it really that you need to drop that class, or do you need to vent about something that's going on at home or strategies? And so I was like, I should just get a second master's degree in counseling. Right. So I did it, and now here we are. And so it has felt like it's exactly what I've been supposed to be doing without fully knowing that. So it's been all the paths that I think have led to therapy. And so my 5-year anniversary is actually this March, which is wild, because who opens a private practice during the pandemic? Mm-hmm. I did. Okay. Yeah, which was the scariest thing, right? As everyone from the clinical world was, not everyone, that was, the majority of people were kind of going remote. I went in person, right? Okay. And so I did something completely different. And I think that really helped. And then I really wanted to focus on the quality of care and have a high standard of care and ethics when it came to therapy. And so I feel like that's what we've been doing. And so that's been exciting.
Yeah. How did you get the word out when you first started your business, especially in the pandemic?
So they tell you you're supposed to do it one way, and I just didn't. I think the book really did help. I used to have a podcast at that time. I think that helped as well. But really, it was like word of mouth. Okay. And I kind of thought of it as if I provide quality care for at least 5 people, then they're going to tell another 5 people, and kind of grew from there. And then I also was on Psychology Today, because it's like you can have different profiles on different things. And so I think that during that time as well was really good for me.
Yeah. So do you do a lot of in-person, physically in town, or do you do a mix of virtual now as well?
Mainly in town.
Okay.
Yep, in person, and really only needing to use the virtual modality if it's like bad weather. So yeah, my preference still is to be in person with somebody. And let's say you and I started in person and then eventually we moved to virtual, totally cool too. But yes, I would probably say the majority is in person.
Yeah, it's probably so much easier to read people too. Like, a camera only gets so much, and you can see and hear different things.
Yeah, so I'm big on kind of like energy and doing that, and someone kind of being in your bubble. So I'm also EMDR trained as well. So eye movement desensitization reprocessing. It's a mouthful, but it's one of the most effective modalities to treat trauma, anxiety, depression. You kind of name it. And so I prefer to do that in person. It does have a virtual component to it, but that's also what a lot of patients of mine seek. And so having that in-person piece is important, at least for me.
Right. And I won't go down the rabbit hole too hard, but I feel like a lot of virtual things are so handy and nice, but you miss so much by not doing it in person.
Yep.
So
Yes.
it's cool to see that you're really focusing on that when a lot of people stepped into exactly the opposite.
Exactly. Yep. I would agree.
You have to do something that's different.
Yeah.
Okay. So counseling, you've been doing that, and you're here at Onyx Yoga.
Yeah.
And you moved in not too long ago, huh?
Yeah, so Kelly and I came together as we are working on an integrated model, and we're calling it the Wellness Blend, which has been super cool. So it is nutrition, physical, and mental all combined in one.
Okay.
Yes. And
Does Onyx Yoga do nutrition?
no, we have someone who does that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And so the cool piece is that you can either work with me or we have another person as well, to kind of for the emotional piece. And then we have the nutrition piece handled, and then we have the studio right here. Yeah.
And so it's been like a collective.
Yes. Yeah. It's been so fun too. So as I evolve and grow, that's where I want, or I see things moving towards. And I think we can be multidimensional. We can still have the counseling piece while we're kind of creating this wellness egg or wellness baby that we have going.
Right, like a whole ecosystem almost.
Yeah, and instead of being siloed or one-dimensional, and it's worked out great too for people who have kind of graduated therapy but yet still want to be involved and kind of create that community and that connection, because we've got groups and different things like that as well. So it's been really fun to see that, and that really fills my cup.
You can tell, like you can just tell when people talk and speak that they enjoy it, and you can tell that.
Yeah, because I love therapy, but it has been a lot. The need is very, very high, and I'm only one person.
Right.
So, yeah.
Do you ever get, like, at the end of your sessions, do you ever feel emotionally drained? Just because sometimes you probably hear some baggage, right?
Every day. So that's where it's really important for me to take care of myself. So I have a nighttime routine that I do. I have a morning routine. My morning routine I really call kind of getting my head in the game, so that I can show up and try to be as effective as possible for each person and customize each person's treatment like it fits them.
Yep.
And then decompress at the end of the night so that I can come in the next day.
Yeah.
And all those things are very, very important.
Right. You have to be able to take care of yourself, take care of others.
And as a clinician, I take that seriously, right? And so with the book, and I put myself out there, I'm involved in the community as well, because I think that that's important, not to just to talk about the work, but to be about it, and so that people can see me doing it and know that I'm not just asking them to do something, and that I'm willing to do those things myself.
Right. Yeah. What do you think your favorite piece of doing this would be?
Therapy? It's seeing the outcomes.
Okay.
It's like, I think as a therapist, I hold the vision. I can see it when they come in the door. After that first, the first 1 to 3 sessions are really rapport building, getting to know one another. And then I can see where they want to go, and then being along on the ride with them through the good and the bad. I mean, there's just nothing like it. And then when they come in and they're like, Kaitlyn, I'm at this point, or, now we can move to monthly because that's the maintenance stage. And so that to me is all worth it. And that's why I do it.
Do you ever get like the random email that something maybe during the session or something that someone's sharing with you, like, hey, this happened? Or
Yeah.
Part of that.
And that's been the cool part about having technology too. Like, hey, Kaitlyn, I know we mentioned this video, or I mentioned this, and here's the song I was talking about. Hey, I found this article.
Yeah.
Hey, this, hey, that. And so, yeah, that's been fun to see. Or I thought of this, and you
Just
said
layering
this.
it in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so, yes, I love that part of it too.
Yeah, I can only imagine like how cool it is to be a part of all of those positive things, but then also to be there on the flip side when things aren't as great. That's just as important.
Yeah, and so I get to be that cheerleader, or I get to be like, hey, remember, hey, we just went through this like 4 months ago, or hey, remember when we said this, or, I get to kind of help them remember and then follow through on those goals and really be along that ride with them. And so I'm appreciative of that, and I don't take any of it for granted. I really do believe that what we do is very, very sacred, and people are entrusting me with very personal things. And so yeah, I do love what I do.
I'm glad you don't always find people. Not everyone finds that in life. So
Yes.
it's incredible. What do you think on the flip side of that would be the most challenging thing you've experienced, either in starting your own practice or in opening and doing a book?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
The one usually with the good questions.
Every once in a while, it comes out.
The most challenging part is really trying to maintain that quality of care, right? And it is heavy. And so that's why I think it's crucial that I have to take care of myself on that flip side, right? Because otherwise, if I'm emotionally exhausted every day and I'm not able to show up for patients, then am I really doing what I set out to do?
Right.
So I think the biggest piece is me taking care of myself. And it's been a whirlwind. I have to say, I feel like we have not slowed down. I mean, like I said, I opened during the pandemic, which I was like so scared to do. I'm like, is this the right choice? What do I do? I feel like every entrepreneur, right, has is this
the
how
doubt,
it is?
the thing, what is it? The thing on your shoulder that
Yes.
says you can,
Yep.
but that you shouldn't, or
And it's always a roller coaster, and so you have to buckle up for those pieces. And so it's been that has been a lot, is what I would say, but very similar to being an author. And I think the author journey is also a very personal, maybe not every author has gone this route, right? But mine are very personal and very honest pieces, and so it takes a lot out of me. But then that's also been a place for me of my self-care, so it's kind of been like I can go home and process things and work on that as well. So it's helped me do that. But I think with the author piece, it's been more of that internal dialogue of, am I good enough? Are people going to really want to read this? Who am I? So it's a lot of those self-doubt things. Whereas the therapy, now that I've been doing it, and this will be my 5 years in March, like I said, I feel much more seasoned, I would say, with the therapy piece and how I can go about it and those things. But I would say the needs are getting very, very high. And do I have the capacity to be able to handle that would probably be the shift where it's at now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole different challenge to overcome, right? Like completely different one.
Yes.
Once you get through one, you're like, oh, on to the next challenge.
I know. And that's kind of the fun part, though, too, about being an entrepreneur, and then being able to see it in this way. And I've always had that spirit. I always knew that this was going to be the route. I wanted to do that, or to open my own practice. And then now I just kind of see the next evolution with the wellness blend and my book, and kind of excited for what comes next.
Yeah. It sounds like you have a lot lined up, too.
Always.
So,
Yeah.
I think, again, the spirit of the entrepreneur, just always on to the next thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So technically, I know I'm in production of the second book. I'm in like the edit phase and different things like that. But I've already outlined and have my third one that yeah. So it's like, okay, I'm ready. Now let's go to the next one. So that's always a good sign or an indicator too.
Yeah. Well, and it shows that you love it and that you're passionate about it, which should almost just fuel the next book coming out. Like, hey, we know it's going to be good.
For sure.
You're believing in it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I'm so passionate about what I do. I love it. And so I wouldn't give it up. It's the freedom, it's the flexibility, and really being able to help people and work with them to get them across the finish line of what they want to do. It really, in my opinion, it doesn't get any better than that. and then to watch them live their lives and just everything that they want to accomplish. And so I love it.
Yes. Oh, it's just refreshing to see people who actually enjoy what they do and have found their passion. So
yep. But it's been a bumpy road, right? People ask me, right? Like, oh, well, how did you come to this? Well, a lot of trial and error, right?
Yep. It's like the iceberg thing, right? Like you only see the good, but there was a lot of things that went on underneath there.
Yeah. And when I was an advisor, I would always tell my students at the time, follow your heart, build your resume around it. And so, right, I think that's always been my jam too. I always was going to follow what lit me up, but I was smart enough or strategic enough to make sure I had those other pieces in play too.
Right. That's a good way to look at it. I don't think I've ever heard that advice in relationship to academics.
Really?
That's a good way to look at it. Especially you see so many people, and again, we could go down a rabbit hole, but you see so many people who've gone to college and it's not for something that they love, it's for something that will make them money. But you chase what you love, the other things will follow.
Yeah, exactly. And I always knew that because I cannot tell you how many times, right? History major, women's studies minor. You're never going to get a job, Kaitlyn. Like somebody told me I should be a vet. I was like, what? Like, not that I have anything against that, but like, what does that have to do with a history major and a gender and women's studies minor?
Yeah.
Anyway. And then I said, no, I'm getting my master's in gender and women's studies. And people were like, oh, you're really never going to get a job then, right? And it's just always been that. And so I was like, okay, well, watch me, right? Yep. Okay, that is the piece that I will move on. But yeah, I recognize that my passions are not leading the nation in direct employment, but the skills and everything that I have all correlate. And really, that first master's degree that I have in gender and women's studies is obviously the counseling one is crucial, but that one really helped me make this very trauma-informed approach and think about things very holistically. So without that, I don't think I would be as good as I am as a therapist for the people that I work with.
Yeah, it's the one path leads to the other, and it just, the ebbs and flows. You can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this with us and telling us a little bit about it's really fun to see your passion.
Thank you.
I mean, you can literally see your eyes lit up. So if someone's looking to find you or to purchase your book, where would they go?
So I am on Amazon. I don't send that one directly, so the Amazon printer, so it's not the spiral bind one. But otherwise on Kenealy Counseling on my website, you can find the link. And then if you click on that one, I will send you a signed copy with like bookmarks and things like that. And so my website, you can find me on Facebook too. The website's on there, Instagram, or otherwise Amazon is also a choice.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Look.